Welcome. I'm Tara Lutman. I'm a co-founding partner at GoGlobal, and we help tech startups expand globally with startup funding, strategic partnerships, and finding customers. So please subscribe to our channel, like this video, share with anyone who this will be helpful. Follow us on social media. I'll leave the links down in the comments below. And I'm very, very pleased today in this webisode to introduce someone who's very dear to us. This is Burak Elmas. And the theme of our conversation today is win-win-win, I call it. So it is when we support the ecosystem, startups win, investors win, and the global ecosystem wins. So this is what I want to highlight in my conversation today with Burak. Burak Elmas is a senior executive. He's an entrepreneur. He's an executive board member, but he has a very long list of accomplishments and achievements in his career, which I'm going to ask him about. So Burak, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time today to talk with me.
Hi, Tara. It's a pleasure.
So why don't we start there? Burak is one of our GoGlobal mentors, and GoGlobal brings in experienced professionals to mentor our startups because they have a lot of value to add. And when we present a startup to an investor, we want them to be very prepared, and we want them to present a very good case as an investment. So we bring in people like Burak, and Burak is one of our favorite mentors because of his experience and his expertise and his professional achievements. So Burak, could you tell us a little bit about your background, some milestones in your career that you bring as a mentor?
Sure. I started working after I graduated from university. I started working for my family business. My family business was about distribution, basically capillary distribution of fast-moving consumer goods. And also during those years, I was helping a lot of international companies get their distribution right in Turkey, which was a complicated market because of the mix of channels. There was a lot of mom and pop shops, let's say small convenience stores, which were driving majority of volume. At that time, the chain supermarkets had not developed that much. Now they have developed to a large extent. Anyway, so that gave me a chance to go into multiple categories of fast-moving consumer goods. I was able to work with multinationals like Kellogg's, Mars, SmithKline Beecham. And when you work with those companies, you are able to see how they each look at their businesses differently. I mean, the key metrics might be the same, but they all have different corporate cultures, different ways of looking at their success and measuring their success, and also monitoring their success. So during those years, I helped a lot of retailers to come to Turkey as well. One of them was Booker Cash and Carries, Spar Supermarkets. And at one point, I saw the developments happening abroad in terms of 3PL, and I brought Excel Logistics from UK to Turkey, and then they expanded to Middle East. And then later on, Excel has been acquired by DHL. After that, I thought that my personal development was not satisfying me, and I decided to go into the professional world. I joined one of the largest food conglomerates in Turkey, and they had at that time made the largest acquisition that a Turkish company has made abroad, which was Godiva. And I started working in the Turkish company, and managing Godiva on their behalf. And I held during those 12 years multiple different roles and positions at Godiva, acting CEO of investments, head of managing director of Japan, managing director and president of United States. And at the same time, the group had multiple joint ventures with multiple international companies, and I became responsible for those as well, distribution and sales and manufacturing. So it was a great experience for me because my development continued on multiple categories and multiple countries. And different China, I led the China investments, country entry to South Korea. I was involved in multiple new ventures, expanding in the Middle East, etc., which was great actually, because in every country, in every new category you go in, you learn about new dynamics. And also you are able to measure the commonalities among different categories, let's say the tools to success. the major tools to success, which helped me a great deal actually.
We love you for many reasons, Burak, but this is something that's really, really important to us, is this multinational, international, global perspective and experience. Because like you said, people do things differently, measure things differently, have different cultures. And in my experience, you can take kind of the best of what you see from this smorgasbord or buffet, that you can say, here's
Yes.
let's apply this, let's try this. And I think that's really, really powerful. So, this rich background you have, you're bringing this also as a mentor to Go Global. What are you getting out of your experience as a mentor?
Basically, until a certain age, and also with a certain tenure in the global business world, you accumulate some experience. And that experience doesn't necessarily have to come out or become helpful to yourself. You can also be happy by making others use that experience. And also every mentorship I do with you guys, every new business idea that an entrepreneur has actually is like a puzzle, which I like to contribute through my knowledge and help them actually to navigate and also think about the end game from the start. Because what you see in those, especially that's a problem of startups, because everybody has a great idea, but because some of them are not as experienced and have not seen the wide world or the wide sector. The broad experience of different sectors. So I'm able to tell them or advise them basically on what to think about, considering what the end game should look like. And I enjoy it quite a bit, because there is nothing better than being able to tell people and talk about your experience and try to help them. GoGlobal mentorship actually gives me that ground. If especially when you see your advice or your the way you are trying to help them comes to life, and your experience is valuable to them, that also creates a very, very great satisfaction actually as well.
It's one of the factors of happiness in life, is giving of yourself so that other people can benefit. So
exactly.
It's this interesting relationship between being selfish and being giving. You're being giving to get the selfish satisfaction. So we've had other mentors also say they like seeing the early stage startups, because they get insight into what's coming. If they're thinking about, some of them are thinking about investing themselves, so they get in on the ground level also. I think this can also be a benefit to being a mentor, is being able to see from the beginning.
Yes. I think the times we are living in is quite unique. The times we are living in are quite unique, because the world is changing rapidly with the impact of technology, and also I think the companies are struggling between how they used to do business, how they need to do business. And a lot of companies who have invested in infrastructures and ways of doing business based on the past and the way things used to work in the past are struggling to create a model on a white page, which actually answers the consumer needs of the future, the business way of working for the future. And actually startups are doing that. And that's the reason the number of startups have increased. Many of the large corporations are struggling because they have street pressure also to sweat their assets, and those assets are not as valuable as they used to be. Here, I think startups have a great advantage if they plan well, which issue they're addressing, because some of the startups also sometimes can be in love with their own ideas and can never dictate your ideas to consumers or the customers that you are going to work with. So you need to package your idea in a way where your stakeholders, be it investors, customers, or consumers, are actually buying in.
Very good point. Very good point, to be customer and stakeholder focused and not just attached to your own idea. It's a very good point. On that note, then, what do you think is missing in the global startup ecosystem?
I think there have been a lot of positive developments in the startup ecosystem recently as well. I think the major issue which was missing was know-how in different. I mean, if you, in different segments which startups need to develop their idea further. Let's say a technology background, right? Some of the startup owners have great ideas, but they don't know how to commercialize them.
Yes.
Commercializing that information through different expertise becomes difficult for them. There have been some companies in the recent years which have established actually which help commercializing startup ideas, but it's still not wide enough. I mean, as you see, if you come to ideas, actually geography doesn't really restrict the expansion of your idea. Before, if you wanted to do a business, yes, geography matters because of economics, how big the idea can get because of the economic base or consumption base in that particular geography. But once you have idea, you can implement it in any geography you want. So you don't need to be in a specific geography, but you need expertise to go into that geography and also think on a white page. Everything at the beginning phase, when you have that white page, when you are drawing your idea, how to distribute it, how to reach customers or consumers, because customers can be direct to consumer, it can be customers like distribution channels, also business to business customers. So there you need expertise. Unfortunately, in countries outside of US or the developed economies like UK and some European economies, the startups are not getting that service. So they need to find experts in those areas to help them, which really delays the execution of the idea. So let's say, I think the major thing that is missing is the one-stop shop where you can fill the blanks with expertise in order to commercialize the startup idea.
Thank you, Burak. I think you're bringing up some really good points. How to take an idea and commercialize, number one, and then how to take something that you've created and get it across borders. And someone with, some experience in logistics would certainly understand. You just have to figure out how to cross those borders. And so good. That's a good.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Okay, so my last question for you, in your opinion, what is the number one thing that startups can do to make themselves a more appealing investment?
During my professional tenure and in the business world, I always started thinking, of course, you always have ideas, but I always start thinking from the end consumer of that idea or the end stakeholder of that idea. So, for example, if you are going to bring a product to the market, you have to be able to look at the product from the eyes of a consumer, rather than from your own eyes. What perception might not necessarily be the real thought or perception of your idea from the consumer eye. I think they need to think about, for investors, for example, it's the same thing. You need to be able to think what investors are looking for. For example, there are different type of investors for startups. Some investors are looking actually to go in and grow the business and resell the idea, the startup. So there, they will be looking at different things. Depending on the type of startup idea that you have, some startups grow very fast. The dynamics, you always need to, I think, decide what type of investor might be interested in your idea. And then what are the things that those investors are looking when evaluating startups? That thought process will always help you how to communicate in the right way to the investors, and also how to tailor your idea from the beginning according to the needs of the investor type and what they are looking for. I think they need to, and that is lacking as well usually, because most of the startups are going to investors once they have idea and they need money to execute that idea. So they don't know the investors. They don't know what they're looking for. Some experienced startup owners or creators have experience in dealing with those investors, but new ones don't have that experience. So I think they either need to get advice from people who know those investors and type of investors and what type of investors might be in the future interested. So you are preparing basically your company to be liked by an investor type. So how should you package your proposal, or which metrics you should develop at the beginning to be actually, let's call it, sexy to those investors?
Yeah, very good. I love that you frame it in terms of the end game. You know, what does the end game look like, and then back off from that, and also the startup investor match. That one startup isn't going to be a match for all investors, but understanding and what they're looking for and how you can match yourselves. I think that's a really good point, Burak. Thank you so much. So I think we could go on and on.
I personally, one more thing, I would like to add one more thing to the answer, actually, to the question that you just last asked. I usually suggest to startups to do their research well. So today we are living in times of information. There's a lot of information which is available to all of us. And I advise them to look at the moves of the investors who do similar investments to the similar startups, and understand the way they invest, the way they look at the post-investment success of their investments. So once you research that, you can find a lot of answers from those companies as well.
Very good. So looking at what has worked in the past, looking at models of success and adapting yourself.
Yes.
Very good advice, Burak. Thank you so much. So I would love to talk with you again, perhaps in the future, but for today, we'll leave it here. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, I guess they can look for you on LinkedIn.
Or they can reach you guys.
Of course.
Go global to actually get in touch with us.
Very good. Okay, so if you want Burak to be your mentor, or if you want to talk to him about any other areas of expertise, get in touch with me. I'll leave my contact information in the comments below. If you're a startup, we would love to know what area you're working on, what problem are you solving. If you're an investor, as Burak said, what is it that you're investing in? What kind of deals are you looking for? And if you're a corporate institution, how do you see the benefit of corporate startup partnerships? We'd love to know that down in the comments too. So Burak, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Great to see you.